Packers take on the division-leading Minnesota Vikings in an early but key matchup that could have a big NFC implications later on down on the road. Join us as we explore this big early season game as the Packers host Aaron Jones for his first visit to Lambeau in a visiting uniform.
Yeah, I've been wanting this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay. Hey. Yeah. Ain't no errors, baby. It's a new era. I wake up early feeling rich like I'm Kesha.
All right, welcome in. Sounds Gouda, another episode here. On this episode, we're previewing all things Vikings at Packers this week. Thank you so much to everybody for coming back in. My name is Rob Ralph. Next to me is my best friend and co-host, Jordan Olson. Really appreciate it. Just know that moving forward, we do have new content coming out every Wednesday, which will be a recap from the last week's game. And then we'll have a Saturday video, too, previewing this upcoming game, similar to this one, too, as well. So just know we are on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts as well. So you can find us all there and hit a like and hit a follow and make sure to subscribe to us. So, Jordan, what a matchup this is going to be. The 2-1 and surprising with 2-0 with Malik Willis Packers take on the 3-0 Minnesota Vikings. What are you looking forward to as far as this game goes this weekend?
Oh, I mean, a ton. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I mean, we talk a lot of shit about the 49ers. Not so much shit, but like hate for the 49ers. No, we do. But I mean, like, the Vikings are the team that I despise the most. And, you know, I live in Michigan. No discredit to any of my Lions family, friends, coworkers, whatever. I know that we have a big rivalry with the Lions. You know, the Bears, you got to show us something before we can have this discussion. But the Vikings, man, I grew up across the river from Minnesota, and I've always had a disdain for the Vikings, their fans, the rivalry. So I am pumped and I'm ready to go. I personally went and sat through that game last year at Lambeau, which was a complete train wreck and probably the low point of the season. So I'm hoping that we get our revenge back at Lambeau this time. I know we got it late in the season last year, but it's time for the Packers to take care of business at home. And then on top of that, the biggest heartbreak of the season with all the excitement was that Aaron Jones not only is not a Packer, but he went to be a goddamn Minnesota Viking, right? Like,
of course he did.
How great a fit would he be with the Texans offense right now? And like, he's from Texas, go home, be a Texan, be on a Super Bowl team, and nope. Just like so many before, you're just going to spite the shit out of us and you're going to go across the river up to the glass bird cage in Minnesota, and you're going to be a Minnesota Viking. So there'll be a lot of emphasis. They're probably already, that Saturday when this is coming out, there's going to be a lot of chatter about that this week. We'll see what happens. So, I mean, what do you think about this matchup, Rob? The Packers, I think, are 2.5-point favorites at the time of this recording. We'll see how the money moves throughout the week, but what are you thinking?
Yeah, Vegas is liking the Packers. I think that, obviously there's been a lot of news saying that Jordan Love probably will be back during this game. Of course, with a big injury like that, you never really know. And I think they have all the world confidence in Malik Willis right now. And quite frankly, like, how could you not? He's absolutely been on fire. I same thing with Will Levis, except Sam Darnold doesn't quite gift the ball away like Will Levis does. But he is a sitting duck back there. He's not your Anthony Richardson. He's not your Jalen Hurts, and he's not even a Will Levis. So, I know that there's been a lot of talk too and a lot of hype for what the Packers defense did. We're going to need that again. And we're going to need that specifically from the pass rush. We're going to need to tee off on that too again. So I'm looking forward to another big defensive battle. Just some just some key offseason highlights from what they do. You were talking about Aaron Jones, but obviously they got Sam Darnold. That's been one of the talks of the NFL script and storyline so far this year. Jonathan Grenard, linebacker, he's been playing really well for them. I believe they did get him with the Texans. Andrew Van Ginkel, the linebacker. Blake Cashman, the linebacker. Shaq Griffin, and then very, very late, a lot of people are forgetting this, but they did get Stephon Gilmore, cornerback that signed in camp. So, they have some really good additions. Aaron Jones has been really solid so far this year. But the game script and the plan will obviously be a lot different. You're obviously not going to see as much RPO and that sort of stuff too, and especially with Jordan Love's knee. So, Vegas is liking the Packers right now, and the Minnesota Vikings are very hot. They're leading the division. They get all the flowers credited to them right now because, they beat a really good Texans team. They beat a really good 49ers team that seems to be reeling right now. But there's a lot of different other types of matchups and stuff going on in this one. But what are your high-level thoughts, or what are you looking most forward to for this game?
Yeah, and just to put some, thoughts on the Vikings offseason before we really move into focusing on the game, like Sam Darnold signed to be the backup quarterback. They draft J.J. McCarthy. McCarthy wins the job in camp. He's named the starter and then has the injury. And then we get to the situation where Sam Darnold's having, this resurgence in his career. Probably, to be fair to Sam Darnold, probably the best roster he's played on as a starter. Last year he sat. He probably learned a lot of things playing as the backup for the Niners. But I mean, this is not the Jets. This is not the Panthers, two teams that have been quarterback purgatories for a while. And he finds himself on a pretty talented roster. One I admittedly said is probably going to finish last in the division this season. We'll see what happens. It's looking like the Bears are going to be in that spot. The Vikings are a much better squad than I've given them credit for. So, they make two big trades on the draft. They get maybe the best edge rusher, maybe the best defensive player in the draft in Dallas Turner by some people's accounts. He's injured right now, so we'll see if he plays this week. I'm not really sure what his status is. One of the other draft picks, Kyrie Jackson, had a tragic accident this offseason. Really sad story for them. I mean, if you're just an NFL fan or just a human, right, you're sad to hear about his accident and death. And I thought he was going to be a really good NFL player. So
I did too.
A lot of change for the Vikings. But to kind of move into this game, I think you kind of make the assumption there, and I think the Vegas line makes it easy to have that assumption, especially with seeing Jordan Love warming up. He's looking good. He's got the brace on. But, do you think Jordan Love is playing this week in Minnesota? So by the time you all hear this on Saturday, we're probably really going to be pretty close to knowing. We're recording this on Monday night. We don't have a lot of information right now, but you think he's playing?
And I don't know. It's so hard for me too. Yeah, he did look good in his warm-ups and that sort of stuff as well too. And I think the narrative is leaning towards him playing. But if he's not 100%, please let's go out there and rip it again with Malik Willis, because it's going to be hard for them and their defense to stop an athletic, mobile quarterback that's got a lot of confidence and has been playing as well as he has been. So. And quite frankly, we know the Packers medical staff is extraordinarily conservative, right? So they're not going to put him in harm's way. And if he's not 100%, if he's not cleared by the medical staff, he's not going to go. But to be honest, man, I have no clue. I want him to be 100% for he's back, and I'm confident that'll happen. It'll be two completely different game plans. Obviously, one quarterback is much more mobile and athletic than the other, and especially with his knee. But to me, that line would indicate to me that they believe that Jordan Love is coming back.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about it is that the two wins we just banked with Malik Willis give us so much grace and flexibility. I mean, we could lose the next two games, be 2-3, get Jordan Love back healthy, and we still have everything that we're hoping for to happen this season, including winning the division, still out there in front of us, right? With 3 losses and Jordan Love returning, there's so much on the table still. But we'll see. I think one of the key things that I won't spend too much time on, but if Matt LaFleur truthfully is in limbo this week of will Jordan Love play, like I have to game plan for 2 quarterbacks and prepare the offense for 2 maybe completely different things. I don't envy Matt LaFleur's job this week or the rest of the offense, because they might be learning, like 50% of it might be the same, and then later in the week they might be tailoring it towards one direction or another. But, we talked about the Vikings defense, and they're looking really good. They might be one of the top defensive units under Brian Flores, and we know he kind of had a bad deal in Miami or whatever, and him and Tua don't get along and all that, but this defense is looking really good. I think that they're like first against the rush this year, only allowing 71.3 yards per game and only 1 rushing touchdown so far. That's obviously been our strength thus far, especially getting through the past 2 games. And then they've been good. I think they've like a top 5 secondary as well, only allowing like 240 yards, 239 yards a game passing per game. So, do you think that, this is probably our toughest defensive matchup so far. How do you think the Packers offense will fare?
If you thought Jeff Hafley was aggressive in this last game, insert Brian Flores. That dude loves to send all out pressures more than anybody I think I've ever seen. And his players are absolutely loving it. He is very creative, and actually I thought he did a hell of a job there in Miami. Even though he got the boot, but I thought he was a heck of a coach there for Miami when he was down there. Did the best he could with the situation and the players. All depends on who it's going to be, right? Jordan Love as the better passer, in my opinion, or Malik Willis as the better, more athletic RPO type of quarterback. Like you said too, like that's going to be a heck of a job for Matt LaFleur. As far as what that goes. So yeah, it all depends on that, right? Like, can you run the ball effectively on them, right? That's just going to open up everything else. Josh Jacobs will need to have another big day. The offensive line will need to have another big day. Emmanuel Wilson has been getting some more touches there on the edge. If it seems like if you can get on the edge and you can get these wide receivers and tight ends blocking, I don't care what secondary you have. It seems like we're getting a lot of runs that way on the edges and the boundaries. So let's keep pinning that back. And then, if it's Love, you got to protect him. Right? But he's going to make some pinpoint passes. We got to wonder if he's going to be rusty coming back. And then Malik Willis, insert the RPO game. And that's just so tough for a defense, right? To have to count for not only your wide receivers and the blocking and the tight ends, but, crashing down for the quarterback too, taking around the edge and running like he did this last week. So.
Yeah, we could talk about the quarterbacks all we want, but this is going to be another week for the big uglies to really win, which can the Packers offensive line, whatever the game plan is, run or pass, can they protect the quarterback, and can we run the ball? And we talked about the 3 additions that the Vikings made to get Brian Flores those weapons, but he's been deploring those linebackers in a multitude of ways. I think Jonathan Grenard had 3 sacks last week. Former Badger player Andrew Van Ginkel's been I think they called him the henchman. He's been doing all the dirty work. I love that actually as a former Badger player, but I don't know. It's that's going to be a key matchup. The Packers offensive line, if they can execute whatever game plan they put together for whatever quarterback's on the field. But Flores is going to be testing them in a variety of ways. And I think obviously Justin Jefferson is the face of that franchise. They paid him this offseason to be that. And Jair's having his resurgence right now. We've already had some great Justin Jefferson versus Jair Alexander games, but if Ja can lock Justin Jefferson down, I mean, that's obviously going to be key this game. But then I think really like is Anderson going to play or Jordan Addison going to play? And who covers him? Is that Nixon? Is it Bullard playing some time in the slot? Is it Stokes? But like, I think that's going to be one of the key matchups is who covers Addison.
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. He could end up killing us too. He's very fast, very good wide receiver out of USC. I'm going to take another one and say that, our linebackers are going to, obviously, I think most people would say that that's probably the weakness on our defense. I thought they did play a little bit better this game, had a critical against the Titans. They had a critical 4th and 2 stop. Edrin Cooper came in there, I think had a sack too as well. That got on that sack party. But our linebackers versus your Aaron Jones of the world, specifically McDuffie, I know he's been getting taken advantage of, at least in coverage. Quay Walker has been not even subpar. He's been pretty bad so far this year. Played a little bit better against the Titans, but that's going to be another big matchup for me too, and I think one that they're looking and circling on the film to take advantage of.
When I talked about Addison, but like the Packers have had issues passing off tight ends and fast slot wide receivers like Addison, where linebackers have had to go into coverage, right? So like, yeah, I know that Cooper outsnapped Eric Wilson last week like 2-1, but I got to wonder what Cooper's coverage ability is like, and maybe they trust Wilson to cover Addison over the middle and some plays like that. But I mean, and that's where I think like maybe did they put Nixon, and I don't know, maybe it's Bullard, maybe they just put Bullard out there and we say we want you to blanket Jordan Addison all day, and maybe we'll see a completely different game plan for Bullard this week, which I'd be really excited to watch that matchup.
Yeah, sign me up for the Bullard, but not for the Nixon. I think Nixon would easily get taken advantage of if Addison plays and he's 100%. I don't know. I just don't. Maybe Bullard does too as well, being a rookie. But I think there's been some times too this year where Nixon's got got taken advantage of in coverage. So yeah, that'd be a good matchup for the Vikings to try and exploit. So
yeah, and then we'll see how Sam Darnold does against the Packers secondary in general. I mean, this year he's having a career year so far. He's like pretty efficient, 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and obviously the Packers are taking the ball away. So. We'll see, but I'd like to say so far that this is the best secondary that Sam Darnold's gonna face this young season so far. But we'll see who wins the turnover battle on Sunday. So just kind of transitioning into some injury updates and some score predictions here. We've talked about Love. We'll see whether he plays. Jordan Morgan didn't play against the Titans. I actually think kind of like, it sucks for Jordan Morgan that he got hurt at a really inopportune time, but I think Sean Ryan has kind of earned this job until he loses it right now, and I'm okay with that. I mean, what do you think, Rob?
Yeah, you might want to start having conversations with Rasheed Walker and Jordan Morgan over there. But we all know how Walker started out last year, very, very inconsistent, and then as he went through the year, he got hot. So I completely agree though on Sean Ryan. He's been lights out and he played really well against the Titans.
Yeah, and fans know at this point in time we won't see Lloyd for a while. He went to the IR. We'll see him versus the Texans hopefully. And Tucker Kraft's been a little dinged up, but he's still been playing. The Vikings, Sam Darnold did, and we haven't talked about this yet. He had a scare last week. His MRI came back, and I think he's just got a bruise in that knee area, but they were worried. So expect to see him. Jordan Addison and Turner did not play last week versus the Texans. So if Addison isn't able to play again, big win for the Packers there in that column. But if he's back, that makes them all the more dynamic. So getting into some score predictions here, Rob, what do you think the outcome of this game is going to be?
Oh man, I loved what I was seeing from the Packers defense against the Titans, specifically down in Nashville where you haven't won, and Jeff Hafley, like just a microcosm of what I thought that defense would be. Sam Darnold is a sitting duck back there. He's not even as mobile as Will Levis, and Levis can run out, get out of the pocket, and do that a little bit. I'm looking for a Kenny Clark resurgent. He's been grading out pretty bad here the last 3 games. He's been getting washed out, getting pushed out of his gaps, and struggling with some double teams, which historically he's done a pretty good job of. But he has been playing. He has been playing and historically has played really well against the center Garrett Bradbury. So I'm looking for a big key matchup of him taking advantage of him again. I'm looking for another big 5 to 6 sacks, couple of turnovers. We've been +7. I think that leads the league, the NFL, and the margin for turnovers. If we can do that again, I believe that the Packers are going to take this 27 to 24.
Yep, and I'm going to stick a little bit closer to that Vegas line this week. It's 2.5 right now. I think this is going to be an extremely competitive game. I don't think that the Packers defense holds up quite as good as it has been. But I'm going to go a 24-21 Packers win at Lambeau on Sunday, tomorrow, as you listen to this. I went with a double-digit 10-point win last week in my prediction. They scored 16. I think this one's going to be a little tighter. So 24-21 Packers in a game that ends up being pretty close and probably a little uncomfortable, especially since it's against a division rival. So, a couple closing notes. By the time you listen to this, the Brewers season will be nearing an end, the regular season anyways, but they're going to be going into the postseason. As big Brewers fans on this podcast, we would just like to wish them the best of the luck going into the postseason. We know they won the division. We won't know until later in the week what seed they have and who their opponent is, but let's go Brewers. But yeah, that's all we got for you today. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll be back next Wednesday again with the Vikings Packers recap, hopefully bragging about another Packers victory. Please share this with your family, your friends, and other Packers fans. And as always, like us and subscribe on YouTube. Make sure to follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We truthfully do appreciate that, and all the interactions that we have on X as well. Rob is Robber79, and you can get at me on X at Olson Jordan. So until next time, Packers fans, have a good morning, a good afternoon, and a good night. Go Pack.
Go Pack, go.
Been wanted this shit forever. I've been in the field with whatever they throw at me. Brush it off, pick myself up, moving on to the better. Okay. Hey.